What's going on, guys? It's your boy Ethan. Hope you're having a great day. Welcome back to another video on this channel, and this is part 2 of this monstrosity of a session that I played. Absolute madness. If you haven't seen part 1, look down in the description below. I'll leave the link there if you haven't seen part 1, but this is gonna be part 2. We're gonna go straight to the hands. So much happened, so much crazy stuff, crazy action, 4K plus dollar pots, amazing. Absolute wild of a session. Couldn't fit it all into one video, so here's part 2. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and let's go straight into the hands. So, moving on with the session, we are down a bunch, in for 2K, and we've got to make it up somehow. This hand here in the second part, ace-9 of spades in the hijack. +1 opens up to $20. I decided to make the call with a suited ace. We're going to be playing some hands here, and 2 other players make the call. So, we're going 4 ways to a flop, which comes Jack-9 for rainbow. +1 player c-bets $35 into the field, and we're sitting with middle top, if that's ever a thing, and a backdoor flush draw as well, but this is a pretty small bet. He is a friendly action player. Let's try to play a little bit more exploitative and put in the raise to isolate. I raised to $105. We get a player in the small blind to snap call. He also has a pretty large stack. In addition to that, he's been playing a lot of hands as well. And now the +1 player calls my $105 raise. So we thin the field from 4 ways to the flop to 3 ways on the turn. The turn comes the king of spades, brings in our backdoor flush draw, and now +1 bets out $160. Here, with the second pair and the backdoor nut flush draw, definitely not going to go anywhere but make the call. And now the small blind puts in the jam. He jams his entire stack for $355 total. We've got quite the pot brewing when +1 makes the call, and I'm never going to be folding here. With 1100 in the middle, pair plus flush draw, let's go for it. So I flat, and big pot ballooning now, really, really big one. Let's try to improve. The river is the ace of hearts. That's not too bad. It doesn't change a whole lot. We do lose to ace-king. Queen-10 that we already lost to is, already there. So when this +1 player checks, I feel like I just have to go for value now, rivering 2 pair. Got to build a little bit of a side pot, and if we're somehow going to be losing the main pot to the small blind player, at least we can get some money back. So I throw out a bet of $360. He covers us, and really trying to go for some value here. It's also a very weird sizing because it leaves us with 100 behind, but he tanks for quite some time before ultimately putting in the call with king-jack offsuit. I show my hand, we take down the side pot. Unfortunately, a small blind shows queen-10 off, and he takes the main. So we kind of broke even there, probably lost about $100, but would have been really cool for the small blind to fold to our flop raise, but here we are. Next pot brewing, pocket 4s in early position. I go ahead and just open limp as I'm still trying to take notes from the first hand. We get a cutoff player who limps, and now the button raises to 20. I'm never folding this hand. I have it on my metal coin for a reason. We make the call, and we're going 4 ways to this flop. Flop comes Jack, 3, 4, 2 hearts. There's the 4. There's our middle set. Let's go. Action checks to the button, who throws out a bet of $50. The big blind makes the call. He has a pretty massive stack, almost 3K, and he's been playing very wide ranges of hands. So when action's onto me, definitely going to be raising it with that heart draw in there. So I size up to $200, and action actually folds back to this big blind player. The button, who c-bet, folds, and the big blind now makes the call. He covers us, and we're probably going to be playing for stacks here. When the turn comes, the 5 of hearts, it's really not ideal, but I'm obviously never going to be folding my set here. I have about $660 in my stack. So with that said, when he checks to us, we're going to throw out another bet. We size to $260. He is now going to act, and he puts in the good old check raise. Check raises to a sizing of $600. We have a set. We're not folding. If we're behind a flush, we can always suck it on the river, hopefully. So with that said, I jam 660. He obviously makes the call for only $60 more. We're off to a river. The river comes the Jack of Hearts. Let's go. We boat up. I show my hand, and we're good. he shows us king 6 of hearts. So the suck out, resuck is intact here. So happy to have some positive variance come back our way, scooping up a big pot. We've played 2 really big pots in a row. Can we make it a third? This time, we pick up Jack 10 offsuit in the big blind with an under the gun straddle. The button, who is the player that we doubled up through last hand, he's very good for action, probably a little tilted at this point. He open limps. Small blind limps as well, and with a marginal hand out of position, I also put in the limp for $5 more, and the straddler checks his option. Flop multi-way comes 9-7-4 rainbow. 2 overs, got the gutter. We're going to check here, and action checks the button, who bets $10. This sizing, a little too small. We're obviously just never going to fold with our gutter, and everyone calls as well. So still going 4 ways to the turn. Turn comes the 8 of hearts, brings in the backdoor flush draw, and we are absolutely loving life. Small blind, now donk leads out for $20. Sitting with the nuts, sitting with the heart draw as well, that's out there. Definitely too small, so we decide to raise it up to $75. Usually would probably size to maybe $100 to $80, but I want to make it just small enough to have the button, who is very call happy, to be in here. So when I raise to 75, the button 3 bets. What an absolute dream. 3 bets to a sizing of $190. The small blind folds, and this is very easy to 4 bet now. He's sitting very deep with $1,300, and I actually cover him. So we're trying to find a way to get all of the money in here. This time I size to $650. I'm assuming he's never going to fold a hand like 2 pair, and if we can see a clean river, then we can get all the money in. He tanks for a very, very long time, and at the end of the day, ultimately puts in the call. Slides in $650 in there, leaving himself with $700-ish behind. Let's see a really good, clean brick river and rip it all in. The river comes the 10 of hearts. Ah, that's painful. Not the clean card we're looking for, but not afraid of the flush here. Definitely can't get max value anymore, I don't think, as 2 pair just might fold if I jammed. So I bet $320 to extract some money from him. He calls pretty quickly. We show our hand, and we're good. Little did we know it was a huge cooler as we were up against 5-6 of clubs. Really wish he would jam it on the turn, but we're going to take another massive pot our way. Whew, some massive hands going on, and in this next hand, ace-3 of hearts in +1, playing 6-handed. I open up the action to $20. We get 2 players to make the call. We're always going multi-way to flops here, the button and big blind now. Flop comes ace, 10, 5, rainbow. Action checks to me, and with top pair, we're going to c-bet a fairly small amount for value. We bet $25, and the button calls. The turn comes the 7 of hearts. Brings in the backdoor flush draw now, and I think it's going to be a little hard for us to get value from 10x holdings, but with top pair, really great equity with the nut flush draw. I size up to $75, and he decides to make the call with about 400 behind. He called really quickly as well. The river is now the 8 of hearts. This is the dream runout sitting with the nuts. Here, I want all of it. I want all $400 in his stack, and I decided to polarize my range here and rip it all in. Although this line doesn't really signify too many bluffs, maybe we can try to cooler him. It's a very connected board, and he possibly can have 2 pair and can call down. So I put him all in with the overbet jam, and he tanks for a while before ultimately putting in the fold. Couldn't get all of it there. Maybe was a little too greedy, but I figured that 2 pair just might call. In the next dicey spot, Jack 9 offsuit on the button with an under the gun straddle. Low Jack, player who has been very, very passive, limps. Here, we're going to open up our range here on the button and raise it up to $50. Also, once again, multi-way, where the under the gun straddler and low Jack call, so we're in position going to a flop. The flop is Jack 10, 8, 2 hearts and a club, and action checks to me. playing a marginal hand like Jack 9 off, this is as good as it gets with this flop, top pair and open-ended. With that said, I bet $90, and only the under the gun player makes the call. He's got a pretty big stack of 1,600, and I cover him. He's also seen to be a pretty solid player as well. So we'll see. Probably going to be pot controlling on this run out here, but the turn comes the Jack of clubs, brings in the backdoor flush draw. Once again, he checks, and this is a really, really weird spot. We can certainly check back for pot control, but there are a million different draws out there that also we have as well. But our hand is really, really strong, and we just have all of the board pretty much. So I size down. I size to $125 because I also think this is a board texture where he can check raise a high percentage of the time. Anyways, he does not elect on a check raise after thinking things over. He tosses in a call, and we're off to a river. The river is the king of spades. Really great card as it doesn't change anything at all. It's very unlikely for him to have king jack now, and honestly, when he checks for a third time, I'm feeling pretty good here. I feel like I have to go for value, but it seems really thin in this spot because what hands can I really target and call? Two pair hands, definitely not going to call this river, like 10-8 or something like that. Worse jacks aren't really a thing that's out there. So mainly, can I target a hand like king-queen that was open-ended on flop and turn? But I'm not really sure. But I go with a bet fold mentality and size down once again to $115. With this bet, he immediately shows a little bit of frustration as he's not happy with this small sizing. Now feeling pretty confident with it. He does toss in a call. I show my hand, and we are picking this one up. All right, we've been running pretty well here so far, and we're chipping up big time. This next spot with Jack 7 of diamonds in the cutoff, we get the low jack and hijack player to limp. Here, very, very passive. I'm in position of them. Let's try to exploit that a little bit and put in the raise. I raise at $30, and we get some bad news immediately as the button 3-bets to 70. Really small sizing for $70, and welcome to California poker. Small blind makes the call. Big blind calls 70. Low jack calls. The hijack who limped fold somehow, and we're in it too. $40 more than the 3-bet pot. We're going 5 freaking ways. The flop is going to be interesting when it comes Jack, Jack 3 rainbow. If you're going to play Jack 7, flopping trips is probably going to be one of the boards that we like. Pretty good for us, and even better, the small blind, who is an action player at this table, leads out for $100. The big blind makes the call who's next to act, which is really interesting and almost a little concerning because he's also a solid player. But when it folds to me, I debate between raising or flatting. We're in position, so that's always good for us, but also really hard for us to get value if we were to raise. So with that said, I just flat, and we're going 3 ways to a turn. The turn comes the deuce of spades. It brings in a backdoor flush draw. And once again, the small blind bets out $100 with $450 behind in his stack. The big blind calls once again, and he's got a bigger stack with about $1,000 in front. Decision time here. I can't let spades get a free roll, basically, with how much is in the middle. So I think that with trips here, given the action, we've got to figure out which one of them has a jack. So I put in the raise, time to get some value. We raise to $350. The small blind tanks for a long time and ends up folding. Now the big blind tanks for about a minute before ripping it all in for $900 total. This is not good for us. There's 2K in the middle. It's $550 for us to call. Getting really great pot odds, really great price to do it, but this is just always for value. There's never a bluff here. And what value hands am I ever going to beat? Is he overplaying Jack 5, Jack 6? No, he's not. There are no real spade draws, as he's not going to do that either. Yeah, not good whatsoever for us. And I tank for a while, but we know Jack 7 is not good here, even though there's a great price. So we decided to fold face up here, and he was nice enough to show us Ace Jack. So it's nice to make the right fold, but it's pretty tough for us to lose $500 in this hand. So nice hand, sir, but we were put in a really tough spot and we tanked for a while before making a very agonizing fold. All right, it's big hand after big hand, and this time it's no different. Ace-Jack offsuit in the button, under the gun straddle. I open things up to $40 on the button, and the small blind and under the gun make the call. Both very solid players from my point of view, and also very deep stacked. We're on a loaded 2-5 game here. So we're going to a flop which comes ace 3-5 rainbow. The small blind checks blind before the flop comes. The under the gun player checks as well, and onto me. I throw out a bet of $75, and the small blind grabs his chips and makes the call fairly quickly here. Under the gun player gets out of the way, and we're going heads up to a turn. The turn comes a jack. This is perfect, full rainbow on the board, and we have top two. He checks, and definitely going for value. Hopefully we can cooler him. Maybe he has ace-3, ace-5. I size to $175, and once again, his hands reaches for his chips fairly quickly and makes the call. He's got over $1,300 behind, and we're trying to find a way to get more of it to come our way. The river comes a king. This is not the most ideal card in the world because sometimes we can't get max value against smaller two pairs. I have all of the ace-kings in my range as he doesn't have any, but anyways, when he checks, we definitely have to go for value. And now we're deciding whether we want to polarize ourselves and bet pretty big or just like a normal river sizing to get value. I decided on the latter and sized to $340. Pretty standard given the size of the pot. He makes the call pretty quickly. I show my hand and we're good. He shows us ace-queen. So dirty returns suck out there. Lucky for this to go my way, and we're picking up more chips. Seems like every hand that we talk about is pretty massive, and this one is pretty fun with the hand, pocket fours, and we're under the gun. I decided to open limp here, under the gun here. No need to raise it up. We just want to see a flop here. And there are 5 total limps around. So 6 total limps to the big blind, who raises it up to $50. Obviously, we're never folding pocket fours. Just it doesn't matter what sizing it is. We're never folding. So I make the call, and action central, man. 4 other players call as well. So we're playing on an 8-handed table, and there's 6 ways to the freaking flop. The flop 6 ways comes queen, 5-4, all hearts. Good enough, man. If you're gonna play fours, you flop a set. Don't care what the board is. It's good enough. Action checks to me, and definitely putting in a bet here. I size to $220. Action onto the middle position player, and he is generating a lot of action on this table so far. He makes the call, and he is deep. About $1,600 effective, so, you know, maybe we can build a big one. All the other players fold, and we've gone from 6 ways to heads up. The turn comes a 6, totally fine, not a big deal. Not too many hands will really get there with the straight. Don't think he's playing 3 deuce. I don't think he was calling for a gutter. So still with bottom sets, we're going to put in another bet, and it's going to be a sizable one of $555. He tanks for a while. He checks his cards for quite some time and ends up putting in chips for a call. We've got a massive pot brewing. He's got a little over $1,000 effective in his stack, and we want all of it on a clean river. The river comes a queen. Yes! We bowed up, we're nutted, and we're hoping he has a flush now. We're just hoping he has a queen. So I tank for a pretty long time trying to figure out what the correct line is. And at the end of the day, I ended up checking. I think that if we jam, we fold out all of his bluffs. And if he has a hand here, even if he has trips, I think he's going to put his stack in there just given how he's been playing so far. So with that said, I check. He tanks for a while. It's a big pot. And announces all in. I couldn't snap it off any quicker, putting chips in the middle, signifying a call, and we show our hand. He has 7 deuce of hearts for the flopped flush, suck out on the river, and we're picking up a 4K plus pot. Thank you, Edward, for dealing me this absolute monster. Something about pocket fours, man. You can't lose. Last hand we're going to go over. Monstrous video. Monstrous part 2. Ace Queen of Hearts on the button playing 6-handed, and the cutoff opens it up to $45. What in the world is going on? I've got a premium, we're in position, so we decided to see a flop. No need to 3-bet as he already raised so big. So we call, and the big blind calls as well. Going to a flop, which comes Queen, 9, Deuce, Rainbow. Cutoff, C-bets $80, and on this kind of board texture with top, I don't think we can fold just yet. The cutoff is repping very strong premiums, aces, kings. I don't know if he has jacks, but we block aces, so probably just kings. I can't fold just yet though, so I make the call, and surprisingly, the big blind calls as well. The turn comes a jack, and board a lot more connected. I'm not really loving this turn, so once the big blind checks, the cutoff once again fires a bets, and this time it's really big. It's $425, and it's a pretty easy fold for me now, given that the big blind is behind. So I fold. The big blind has a really big stack, somewhere between $1,100, $1,200. He announces all in. The cutoff snap calls. Wow, big pot brewing. The river comes another 9. The big blind shows King 10 of diamonds hitting the gutter for the nut straight, but the cutoff shows pocket jacks for a rivered boat. This is such a cooler of a hand. Lucky for us, we got away with it with an easy decision, but man, big pots and stacks flying left and right. Wow. What a ridiculous session. What a crazy way to end off today. That's just my unfolded laundry. Kind of gross looking actually, so I'm just gonna pan it back here. Just got back to my Airbnb here in San Diego. Just got back home and I don't even know what to say. All the ups and downs. The craziest, just so much action to be found today. It was absolutely unreal. So we'll go over the final numbers for the whole session that was monstrous. So the day ended pretty well. We played the 2-3 session and we made like $600 in an hour, which is nice. And then the 2-5 game, we were in the game for 2,100, out of the game for 49.20. Played for about 5.5 hours of the 2-5. And it was action-packed, action galore, all in city. And we ran really okay, I guess. In the beginning, I guess I didn't play amazing poker. I tried to be a little more just high variance, and it didn't really work out that well. But at the end, we just I can't complain. I can't say we didn't run well, and we cashed out for over a 3K profit. So pocket fours, man, to the rescue, both times. The good old river giving us the boat, and just incredible. So leave a like if you enjoyed, especially if you made it this far. If you watched both parts, let me know in the comments below. Love all the support, guys. What an absolute crazy night. Thanks so much for watching. Peace.